Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you clicking on this video. This tells me that we're alike. Maybe consider joining the family. So in today's video, as you can probably tell from the title of this video, I'm doing a book review today. And the book I'm going to be reviewing for my first, actually, I think like this is going to be like a series, like an ongoing series about, me talking about books that I've read. And in this instance, the book I'm reviewing is this book by Chukwuebuka Ibeh, and the title of the book is Blessings. I actually chose to read this book honestly because it was recommended to me by the book club that I belong to, which honestly turned out to be a blessing. Catch that. But really, after reading this book, I can't wait to read any other book that Chukwuebuka Ibeh publishes. So guys, I was taught in school, in my literature school, that oftentimes, or maybe sometimes, an author's background might influence their writing choices. And by writing choices in this instance, I mean like their character, their choice of character, their language, their tone, and even the themes that are explored in the book. So I had to obviously talk about the life of the author and see how that translates into fiction, or how he translates it into print. The author, Chukwuebuka Ibeh, was born in Nigeria in 2000. Guys, 2000. That makes me really think about my life, because at this age, or at such a young age, he has been able to release such a masterpiece. Honestly, I am so floored by that. And from what I gather, he's currently pursuing an MFA degree in Washington. Going back to my point where I said that an author's life usually influences their writing choices, how it translates in this book is that in Nigeria currently, it is illegal to be anything but straight in terms of sexuality. This state of affairs is very interesting to see how he basically explores this and how he talks about this in the book. Basically, if you just do a little or a quick search about this book, you'd see that this book is a coming of age novel of a gay character called Obiefuna. So throughout the course of this video, I'm just basically going to give you my impression, or rather like a very honest review on what this book basically talks about. So for me to be able to do that, I'm going to attempt to give you a spoiler-free summary. So in case you have not read the book, I do not want to give you spoilers. So first off, like I said earlier, this book can be categorized as a coming-of-age novel or a Bildungsroman. And here, in the cover of the book, Chimamanda wrote this text. She says that Chukwuebuka Ibeh's writing has a certain delicacy to it, so wonderfully observant and so beautiful. So after I saw Chimamanda's review on it, my first inclination was that, oh my god, this is going to be such a good book. Like, for her to put this on the cover of this book, it just made me want to see how elements of her were reflected in this book, and I was not disappointed. You know that thing that happens when maybe if you act a certain way, people are like, oh, you just behave like your mom, or I can see your mom in it. That's how I felt reading this book, because a lot of the times I felt like I could see, or I could sense Chimamanda's writing. I could sense her. Yeah, I could sense her in this book. That book, Purple Hibiscus, can also be referred to as a Bildungsroman, and I can really see like very strong similarities between Purple Hibiscus and this book as well. And also because it's a Bildungsroman, it basically tells the story of coming of age for the major characters. In Purple Hibiscus, it would be Kambili, and in here it would be Obiefuna. So there are really very striking similarities between the both. The plot basically follows the story of the character called Obiefuna as he has to navigate and grapple with his identity and also his sexuality. So one thing that I really love about this book is the fact that the author is so intentional and straightforward as to the plot. Like, I really love when I enter a book, or when I start reading a book, I can already tell what the book is about. Like, I don't want too much suspense in a book. And from this book, so from the first few pages, I could already guess where the book was going to. So from the first few pages where you read about the entrance or the arrival of Obiefuna's father's apprentice, that's a mouthful, but from the arrival of Obiefuna's father's apprentice into Obiefuna's life, I could already guess where it was going to, and it was like just amazing. I love that direct nature of writing. Like, he's just writing straightforward. He's just going into the story, and there's like no need for dilly-dallying or whatever. So from this point on, Obiefuna undergoes the journey to self-discovery. Over a series of events, both boys fall in love, and there's obviously undeniable feeling between the two boys. And there's also a sort of subtle romantic intrigue there. But when the building fire between the both boys is discovered by Obiefuna's father, Anozie, he sends Obiefuna off to school. And by school here, I mean a boarding house, which is also a seminary. He sends him off to school single-handedly. And by single-handedly, I mean that he does not consult his wife in making any of those decisions to send Obiefuna off to boarding school. And basically, through the rest of this book, we just follow Obiefuna through as he tries to make sense of the world that he now has, as he tries to make sense of the new boarding house that he has been thrown into. And we basically see how he navigates those situations. Now, moving on to the settings, the main characters, and the themes. This book is majorly set in Port Harcourt. However, other settings include Obiefuna's house, include the boarding school, the football field, and also the Ibeh's house. One thing that I really like is the fact that all the settings come together and basically work together to move the plot along. But beyond this, it really ties into the theory of realism, and it basically conveys the life of an average boy in boarding school. So all these choices of setting basically come together, and all of the settings interact really well with each other. Apart from this fact that every setting interacts or links to every other setting in the book, the characters also really interact with the setting. So by the characters' contact with the settings, either there is a clash or there's an enforcement of the narrative of the author regarding the character in that instance. So what I mean by the characters interacting with the setting properly is that in Obiefuna's case, when he interacts with the boarding house, we can see a different side of him being conveyed. And also when he's at home and he has to interact with his father, we see a different side of him. So basically every setting or every choice of setting has to either be in contrast or in consonance with the narrative of the character. And I love the way that the author basically explores this. So in terms of characterization, as I said earlier, the major character in this book is Obiefuna, and Obiefuna is actually such a dynamic character. Obviously, he has to be a dynamic character for him to be the major character in the story. But I just really love the fact that we see his growth. Obviously, it's a coming of age novel, so we see his growth from when he was younger and when he really had to protect himself to when he graduated from school and he was living with DAB. In that instance, we can see the growth and the fact that he is more at peace with himself. Also, with the fact that he has his own tribe of people, we really see a more softer, maybe not softer, but we really see a different side of him where he's more sure of himself despite, the situation surrounding sexuality in Nigeria today. But in terms of other characters that might not be round, that can be considered flat character, would have the character of Kachi, would also have the character of Papilo, even though I don't really know if Papilo can be described as a flat character. But in my opinion, I really think he's just a narcissist from the beginning of the book till the end of the book. So he, in my opinion, can be considered a flat character. But we also have all other seniors in the school, basically. All those other characters in the boarding house can definitely be considered as a flat character because there isn't much growth from the beginning of the book. They are just very stereotypical characters. Also, the character of Anozie is also a very... If you've read the book, let me know in the comment section, what do you think that Anozie's character is? In terms of the central conflict or the central theme, this book explores the issue of sexuality in Nigeria. It just basically gives you a more in-depth experience as to the ordeals of people who do not fall into the straight category, or people who do not fall into heterosexual relationships, and it makes you empathize with them. The major issue obviously stemming from the issue of sexuality is identity, because of course a large part of your sexuality and identity is they're very intertwined, so you cannot have one without the other. But it's just the fact that because of that one factor, your identity is basically being questioned. And so for Obiefuna, there was a lot of instances where he really had to evaluate himself, where he had to basically shrink from the world because you don't fit into the box that the world has assigned to you. So now I'm going to talk about writing style. This book is a very delicious book to read. One thing that I really love about Chukwuebuka's writing is the fact that there's a lot of showing and not telling. I really love the fact that his writing is very descriptive. And a lot of the time when I was reading this book, I really felt like Obiefuna was right beside me. I felt like he was someone that I knew, like he was someone that I had a personal relationship with. And that is just one thing that not a lot of authors are able to do. Also, the quality of conversations in the book is another thing that was beautifully done. As I said before, the book really ties into the theory of realism. And guys, I went to a boarding house, so I could see myself in the scenes, in the boarding school scenes. I could relate very well to the scenes, There was a scene he described of Obiefuna being checked, with his boxes and his luggage and everything. And it just reminded me of those days that, you have to bring a blue bedsheet, you have to bring a white bedsheet, and, you just have to have white and blue things, because also my school was a missionary school. So you had to have those white and blue colors. And if you did not have any of them, God help you, because you're going back home that day. And I really love the fact that this was well written, it was well captured, and it was able to reflect those things. So I could really, really, really connect with Obiefuna, and I could connect with the settings as well. In terms of the tone of the author is also very synonymous with the themes, in the book. The book is supposed to be a simple book. I actually love when I read a book and it is simple, it's easy to understand. You're not trying to use so much grammar. And so I feel like also by writing the book in this way, Chukwuebuka Ibeh will be able to tap into a very wide audience, which honestly is what it's supposed to be. Because if we're trying to bring more awareness to, a problem, we need to be able to allow people, we need to be able to lower the barriers of understanding so that people can accurately empathize with what you're trying to pass across. And I just love the fact that this was a very simple read. And the fact that it was a very simple read means that a lot of people are going to be able to understand and be able to empathize with the main character in this book. So the tone, everything, the writing style, the descriptiveness, everything just merges and meshes together. So it's just beautifully done. We're now in a section for personal reflection. I'm going to tell you everything that I thought about when reading this book. And obviously I would have talked about it in the previous sections. But again, I cannot hammer or I cannot overemphasize the fact that this book was well written. I love the fact that it is very descriptive. I love the fact that it taps into a wide audience. The book is not written for, elite people to read only. It's written for everybody. Whether you consider yourself an elite or whether you consider yourself as an average reader, this book will suit your taste, which is something that I really love about it. Now, writing style, I love the POV used in the book. I love the fact that we're able to bear witness to the relationship between Obiefuna's mom and also Obiefuna himself. I also love the fact that because of that descriptiveness, we're able to see how Obiefuna feels very estranged regarding the relationship with his father and how that affects the other areas of his life. When I was reading this book moved my emotions, honestly, which is something that is very rare in literature. Okay, maybe not very rare, but a lot of the times you don't read books that move your emotions. So many times there's a lot of telling, the plot is just the author is just moving the plot along just so the book can come to an end. But honestly, I didn't want this book to come to an end because I was so moved with emotions. I can't count the amount of times I'm going to say beautifully done in this video, but this was just something that he did very well, being able to move people's emotions so that you can generate public discourses, so that you can actually influence public thinking or public understanding about a particular problem. So in Nigeria, for instance, where only heterosexual relationships are considered legal, it just makes you wonder, it makes you empathize with people who do not fall into this category. And for the author to be able to make the wider audience empathize with people who fall into such brackets, it must move people's emotions. And this book absolutely does that. And for the fact that this book was written by such a young guy, it just makes it all the better. I love the fact that now more young people are entering into literature. This guy was just born in 2000, guys, and this book is his debut.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling so good and excited.
Amazing for you.
To score a goal in my debut. Man, it's amazing, man. I'm really happy.
Congratulations.
I'm really happy.
So this guy was just born in 2000, and this book is obviously his debut. And for this book being a debut and being written so well, I cannot honestly wait to read other things that he publishes. So in general, this is my conclusion for the book. I would rate this book actually a 9.5 out of 10. I really love the book, and I highly recommend this book if you love to read something that is light, something that is easy. Now, what do I think can be done better? Now, one of the things I really wished that could be done better is the relationship between Obiefuna and his mom. I really feel like the author could have explored more on the relationship between Obiefuna and Uzamaka. And one of the reasons why I feel like it could be explored more is the fact that, why does she prefer Obiefuna to his brother? What has Obiefuna done? What is so special about him? So I really wish that there was a lot more context or a lot more background as to how that developed. Another thing that I wished that was done better was the fact that I didn't want the story to end, particularly because I really wanted to see more of Obiefuna's life. And by more of Obiefuna's life, I mean like the relationship he had with Debbie was just very convenient. So I really wish that there was a lot more in-depth, exploration as to the dynamics of that relationship. Also, the character of Maybe, I feel like the character was a bit too simplistic. Like I feel like it was like he was just a flat character in some ways, and I wish that there was just a lot more exploration on Maybe and basically him as a character. I wish that there was a lot more of that. But aside that, every other thing in the book I absolutely love. So that's not about what I think that could have been done better with the book. But aside that, every other thing about the book I really enjoyed. I think that the writing is very captivating. The writing is fascinating. The writing is beautiful. Will I recommend this novel to people to read? Absolutely yes. I would recommend this book to every person who is a lover of literature or anybody who is actually just making a foray into literature. I would basically encourage everybody to read this book. So here are some of my favorite quotes from the book. Obviously, the book is filled with a lot of quotes that I loved, but I'm just going to try to give some of my favorites. And the first one is a conversation between Anozie and Obiefuna. Everything I did in your own interest. It is not normal to live like this. There's even a law now against it. You could go to prison for doing this. And then Obiefuna replies, I have been imprisoned all my life, Daddy. And that is so sad. Honestly, that is such a emotionally crippling thing to read. Another of my favorite quotes is the quote by Uzamaka where she says, this is actually a conversation between Uzamaka and Anozie. Well, basically she says, it is one thing to love a child, but it is an entirely different thing for the same child to feel loved. And yeah, this one line is very heavy because again it captures the nature of relationships between parents, not just like parents of children who are heterosexual, but also parents of children who find themselves to not be heterosexual. So it can also transcend into other nature of relationships. Okay guys, so that's that about this book review. I hope that this review I've done on this book will inspire you to pick up this novel and read, because I absolutely enjoyed this book and I know that you're going to enjoy it as well. So if you read the book, please leave a comment in the description box to let other people know what you think about the book. And that's it guys, I'll see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye.